profit function and why it's important in agribusiness. The profit function has three components: profit, revenue, and cost. Let's talk about revenue first. Revenue is the amount of money that we make in our business. To find the revenue, we have to take the unit price of the items that we have sold and multiply it by how many units of that item have been sold. For example, let's say that we have sold 100 apples at 60 cents per apple. We would need to take 60 cents times 100 to get that we produced $60 in revenue from those apples. Now, that is not our total profit though, because we often have to spend some money to make this revenue. The money that we spend is referred to as the cost, denoted as C of X in the profit function. There are a lot of costs that can be involved in running an agribusiness, such as paying wages for workers, buying seeds, paying for equipment. These costs can be recurring costs that you have to pay every month, or they can often be one-time fees, especially if you're just starting your business and you need to buy some equipment, supplies, or marketing items. So let's say, for example, in our apple problem, that we had to spend $30 total. We added up our seeds, some fertilizer, and maybe we paid a friend as well for their labor to help us pick those 100 apples. And we spent a total of $30. Our cost is $30. Now, to see how much we've actually made in profit off of our apple sales, we need to take our $60 revenue and subtract the costs. In this case, it would be $60 for our revenue minus what we spent to make that $60, $30. So our actual profit, the money that we made off of this transaction, is $30. Now, this was a pretty simple example, just to get an understanding of this. But in real agribusiness, this can be a really complex and important thing to understand. We often have a lot of costs that are much more complex than just adding up, seeds, fertilizer, and labor. We also have recurring costs that we have to take into account. And we can use this profit function to really help us decide how much we should charge for items, how many items we need to sell. And we can also use it, which we're going to talk about in just a second, to figure out how long it's going to take us to begin to make a profit. As I mentioned, the cost function can be very complex when it comes to running an agribusiness. Something that you've probably heard a lot of as a high school student is slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. In this case, we're going to use that to create our cost function. We are going to say C of X cost equals mx plus b, where m is our recurring charges. We're going to do this monthly, so m times the amount of months that have passed, x, plus b, and b is the initial charges or the one-time fees that you're paying. They're not recurring every month. So let's say, for example, a new agribusiness has been started. They are paying monthly fees of $100 for labor, $50 for seeds and fertilizer, and $50 for rent of the space that they are using. Now, we can also say that they had some one-time or initial fees, which will be our B value. One-time fees of $500 to purchase new equipment and $500 to create a new branding. Now that we have these values, we can add up our monthly values to see the amount of money that we're paying every month. In total, we're paying 100 plus 50 plus 50, which puts us at $200. These one-time fees are not recurring. We're only paying these once, and those add up to $1,000. Now we can use this information to develop our cost function in slope-intercept form. We know that every month we're spending this $200, but we haven't specified the amount of months that have passed yet. So what we can do is just do the 200 times X, an unknown number of months, and then we can add our 1,000 for our B, our one-time fees. The 1,000 does not need to be times by the X because that's not going to be happening every month. It's only happening this one time when we first start the business. So if we plug these in, we're going to put our monthly with our X to get 200X plus our one-time fees of $1,000. So we have now developed a cost function that is more advanced. As I mentioned, another important concept dealing with the profit function is known as the break-even point. This is the point where our revenue begins to overtake our costs and we begin to make a profit. So let's say, for example, that we have found a profit function that is equal to 25x minus 500. In order to solve for our break-even point algebraically, we can set our profit to 0. This means we are exactly at the point where we have made no money, but any more sales after this, we're going to begin to make money. So that's why we set this exactly to 0. We can take our function that we've found, 25x minus 500, and then we're just going to solve for x algebraically. Now remember, we might be dealing with months or days or some other unit when we're talking about x. It's just an unknown amount of time that has passed. So we're trying to solve for that amount of time here to see how long it's going to take this agribusiness to begin to make a profit. Now to solve this, we need to get x by itself. First, we want to get rid of the constant that does not have the variable. So to get rid of a negative 500, we can add 500. To balance it out, we need to also add 500 on the other side of the equation. That's going to leave us with 500 equals 25x. Now we have one more step. This 25 being right beside the x means that we are multiplying. To get rid of that multiplication, we do the opposite operation of division on both sides. Now 25 divided by 25 cancels to 1. We're just left with 1x. 500 divided by 25, that's going to be 20. So in our other problems, we were dealing with months. So if we were dealing with months in this problem, we have just found that it would take this company 20 months before it would reach that break-even point to where they're going to start to make a profit. It's important for business owners to understand this so that they can develop a timeline, and this can help with budgeting.